Hello friends, a very warm welcome to Ansarkari. I am Vikas Bhardwaj. Continuing our journey of understanding different important themes which are very crucial for the examination, we are right now discussing what Weber is saying on the rise of city and how it is linked with his theory of rationalization. Now, when Weber is talking about rise of city and rationalization, he is seeing city as an alternative to feudal order. Now the question arises, what kind of cities were there when we say feudalism was there? So definitely feudalism as a both Western and also an Indian construct. There were cities both in ancient India and there were cities also in the Western world in ancient times. But when we are talking about decline of feudalism and the rise of modernity, then we are speaking that the city in the West provided alternative to feudalism. So the feudal model which is there till the Middle Ages, before the beginning of Enlightenment or a Renaissance period, then we can say that there is a feudalism in the West, but the same feudalism in a basic way and also its different variants they continued in Asian and African societies. Now in the modern times, it became the setting. City became the setting. Nagar, city, Shahar became the setting for modern capitalism. And that's how rationality also came into picture. So the Weber's definition of a city when we speak, it has the four key characteristics which you must remember. It is a relatively close settlement. Think about Lutyens Delhi. Think about New York City. Think about Paris. Think about Shanghai. Think about Tokyo. Think about even Singapore. Then there will be relatively size, a big size. There will be large in size. Think about a city like Mumbai, Mumbai metropolis, and then it possesses a marketplace. Very important, very much crucial, very crucial. And then there is a partial political autonomy. Think about Delhi as a capital and as a kind of a body where all these values are there, but then full political autonomy is not there. Even that is not the same with any of the capitals. Another example you can think of is Washington, D.C. You can do a comparative study and then it can help you in general studies paper 2 also. So Max Weber says that the Western cities, including in Germany, UK, and France, and so forth, they developed a peculiarly rational character. Paris is a very big example, with a rationally organized marketplace and political structure. So the core of the city will be very much organized. Everything will be there in such a way that nothing you can say resembles to a semi-urban area or a village area. It will be very organized marketplace. Everything, including market complexes, including shopping complexes, including hospitals, schools, and further recreational and social institutions would be there, and a political structure would also be monitoring it. So, in comparison, when we do a comparative analysis, many societies had cities like settlements. Like we speak about Indian ancient time cities. They emerged from settlements, whether it was military, whether it was religious, whether it was administrative, whether it was cultural, whether it was because of industry, I mean to say market, as we already said. So all these settlements and cities in the ancient times, like the way Patliputra was also a great rational city when we speak about that inclusive, but then evolution took place. So in modern times, rational cities emerged only in the West in the beginning. China, the traditional community structures blocked rational city development, which had been dismantled in a much large way now. You can go and check out a Google documentary, or you can say a small article also on this line. In India, it is saying, Weber says that the caste system impeded autonomous rational urban growth. But then what is our real experience? Our real experience says that our urbanization and the development is linked with not only social structure, but it is all about administration, it is about the market, it is about planning, and it is about funds. All these things they push Indian cities to more development, but then it will not be correct to say that the caste system is not helping in the rise of a city, or caste system is an impediment when it comes to the rational urban growth. Rational urban growth is linked with so many factors. Caste is just one of the factors, and even Indian urbanization, Indian metropolis or megapolis, it actually facilitates in certain way caste free growth. So in the West, rationalizing forces coalesced. That means they went on to facilitate modern city. So the city and rational economy are interlinked because city requires rational economy. Go and check economy lecture again and bring its key points and then correlate it and try to write the answer, because this answer would demand all your understanding of not only our theories of rationality but also of what economic system is, what religious system is, and even what law says and what polity says. So the conversely we can say the rational economy requires modern city. Both are interrelated, both are correlated. So this mutual reinforcement is explaining the rise of capitalism in the West, which is now being seen in India. But Indian capitalism, I would say, is an Indian form of capitalism. It is not the Western form. We are not following Eurocentric model as far as the growth of India is concerned. So modern sociologists also gave their comment on the Weber city structure, where because it comes to rationalization and bureaucracy, it's very important. Weber city is a precursor to a bureaucratic state because that's how uh, I just said there would be creation of a state which is very orderly, which is very strict, which is very rational. Think about Paris, think about Singapore city, and so forth. Carl Thomason says rationalization eroded kingship ties somehow. How far do you agree with this? Because rationalization is not bringing into picture that sensitivity, that sensibility, that does cultural ethos. We are able to use the same park for Chhat Puja, same park for cultural events, same park for uh, recreational activities, but that is not the case with the West. Replacing them with the bureaucratic efficiency which is there and also creating an iron cage of rationality is actually hampering the growth, the real growth of the cities which actually humans aspire for. Comparative historical perspective, when we say in the Henri Pirenne, medieval European cities thrived due to trade autonomy. Because when we speak about cities like Venice, speak like Naples, Milan, and then London, there would be trade autonomy. There will be large amount of trade facilitating between Eastern world and the Western world, and there are guild structures which will be more or less autonomous. Shreni Bal, Shreni Dharm. We have spoken about this in our previous lectures also, and they are aligning with Weber's rational marketplace. Whereas Fernand Braudel says that he is emphasizing about the long-term economic structures. Long-term economic structure means long-term trade network, long-term uh, a systematic approach for international trade, for regional trade, for local trade, which is now being broken. If you see in today's time, then geopolitical tensions, the world network is being shaken up fundamentally. So Mediterranean trade networks, for examples, in those times, they enabled rational urban growth, which is not possible today because in today's time, like the way US is behaving presently, like the way there is a duopoly of the US and China, sometimes they're antagonistic, sometimes they are coming together. So we have to see from sociological perspective also that how India can relate with it. So the state formation and violence, as we have seen in our previous lecture also, that they are very much intricately linked because war made the state and state made the war. Like the way we can see today's time also, like what is happening between Ukraine, Russia, and also with respect to geopolitical tensions created because of the vested interests of the US. So cities were crucial nodes. They are the nodes. Okay, remember this key word. Please write it down. And they are financing and also they are creating and facilitating administration. Michael Mann says that city enhance infrastructural power of states definitely by concentrating resources in administration, and there is a great inequality. You think about India also, like the main big cities, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 cities, they are now coming into picture, whether it is about the global capability centers, whether it is about e-commerce, whether it is about last mile delivery, everything is being there. And digital growth is obviously a very big factor, which will diminish the gap between the access of services between the cities and the rural areas, but then a lot more is required. So the post-colonial critiques, including Partha Chatterjee, sir, says that the post-colonial cities like in India are fragmented. We agree with that. Combining rational bureaucratic structure with informal networks. Every city in India, whether it is Meerut, whether it is Allahabad, whether it is Lucknow, whether it is some other city, they will be having an area which is very posh, which is very formal, which is civil lines or which is Sadar Bazaar, and then it will be reflecting the glory of the administration, and then there will be an informal state. Everything is happening within 4 to 5 kilometers. So rationalization is partial and uneven. New cities are now being spoken about and coming up, like the way we speak with respect to Amravati. You have to think and put up this understanding of all this, including your general studies perspective, and then you have to come up with the answer. Because in India, Weber's Western model is not completely applicable. When we speak about the global urban sociology, then Manuel Castells, he is saying that modern cities are shaped by networks that we agree, flow of capital, like the way New York is there, like the way London is there, like the way, you know, uh, we speak about Hong Kong, we speak about Dubai, we speak about UAE, and it extending Weber's rationalization thesis into information age is very, very important, because now you can see that how uh, new, I would say, systems are emerging. David Harvey, he says that capital cities embody rational planning. That is very true in the 20th century, but also social inequalities. Think about how New York, in New York City, is also so highly prosperous, but at the same time, the working class and the migrant population, the lower strata, they suffers a lot. It's so difficult for them to survive. So everywhere it is like that. More is the inequality, and more is the inequality which is reflected through infrastructure and efficiency. Then rational planning comes into picture. But is it really helping? That is the whole point. So the contemporary relevance of Weber's study, when we say that it helps to understand our urban governance, whether you think about Bengaluru as a city, when it comes to flooding, when it comes to waterlogging. Similarly, is the case with the Gurugram. Codified laws and administration is also a positive side, and capitalist markets that we want to emerge, that we want to create, like the way Gift City in Gujarat, and Gujarat itself is a model. So in terms of critique, as we have already discussed, I'm just reinforcing the same elements and ideas. If you go to the previous lectures completely, then alienation is coming through rationalization because efficiency is coming up, codified ideas are coming up, inequality is also there because everybody is not same, their social conditioning, their development, their way of living is different, and that's how there are differences, and surveillance is also part of the same. Not just CCTV surveillance I'm speaking about, who are standing where, why someone should be there in a posh area. It itself is a kind of a surveillance. So non-Western city shows hybrid forms of rationality and tradition, and same is the true for India. And it is on these lines you will get a question. So let's end up by asking few questions to ourselves and write answers on them. Can Indian cities shaped by caste and informality not completely be called rationalized in Weber's sense? You have to think, because if you're able to answer, then you are completely on track. Does rationalization of cities strengthen democracy, or does it create alienating bureaucratic spaces? Think this also in India's perspective. And is Weber's Eurocentric model, is adequate for explaining urbanization in the global south? Also try to think in this. So all three ideas that I've spoken to you, they are being in continuation of all the lectures and the foundation and the discussion that we have done, and they are going to help you to become more stronger and smarter. With these ideas, I would again request you to be smart, to be confident, to question yourself, not your abilities, and to move on with clarity and revise and practice and think, so that together we can achieve success. Thank you very much.